Well, welcome everybody to our very first Celebrate Recovery and Celebrate Deaf Awareness Month event. We are with the Department for Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities, and I am very excited that we get to focus today on peer support. And I am making sure our captions are going. Excellent. Today we have with us Alicia Saylor as our interpreter, and my name is Michelle Niehaus. I'm the program administrator for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services with the Department for Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities. And I would love, first of all, for you to put in the chat what you think the word recovery means. What does the word recovery mean to you? Healing, living resilience, returning to a state of functioning. Sometimes people think the word recovery is limited to people who may have used drugs or alcohol in the past and want to stop. This group is pretty amazing already with your answers. Being positive and happy, being your best you, self-care. We want to spread the possibility and the hope of recovery to people who are deaf or hard of hearing, and not just 2 or 4, but with people who have lived experience. And so today you're going to get a chance to meet some of our partners in recovery and our peer support specialists. And we want to make sure that people who are deaf or hard of hearing or deafblind have access to the same kinds of treatment and recovery supports that people who are hearing have. And I think one of the most inspirational people to me as far as understanding peer support has been Susan Turner. So I'm going to ask Susan and her colleague Carrie to turn on their cameras and talk a little bit about what peer support is at Bridgehaven and some of the wonderful things that she's doing. Hi, Susan. It's so good to see you.
Hey there, how are you doing?
Doing well. Carrie, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Susan, can you talk a little bit about what peer support is? That's kind of a new term for a lot of people in the deaf and hard of hearing world.
I guess peer support is best said as helping others through your own lived experience. Peer support specialists all have lived experience with either substance use or mental health issues, and they have been trained to help people in their recovery and to get better by using their story and their empathy. Peers are special people, very, very special people. They have hearts of gold because they give every bit of themselves to everybody they work with. And we are like role models to the people we work with. People that we work with see us doing well and think, hey, I can do this too. Sometimes with peer support, we are that hope for people. You know, we are there so that people can keep going. And, you know, when they're not feeling so good, we can be there to help them feel better. And we do a vast amount of things. And we do everything from skills teaching to support to education. We don't advise the 5 no's. Let me tell you the 5 no's. No fixing, no saving, no judging, no advising, no setting a person straight. So we don't do that, but we walk the journey with people in everything they do. Carrie, you want to tell them a little bit about what you do at Bridgehaven?
Yeah, I do groups. I do 8 groups a week. And these groups range from book club to self-determination to anxiety management. In a lot of my groups, they're more kind of processing educational groups. We do a check-in, so I let people have time to share how they're feeling and let them be heard. And then we usually talk about an article or something like how to help anxiety, things like that. Other than groups, I walk around and just talk to people. I see how they're doing. I help them with anything that they may need help with, other than the 5 things like advising and things. But a lot of times they might need help with paperwork. They may need help with filling out some paperwork, sending in some paperwork for their SSDI or their Medicaid. So we do that as well. But really, we're just here for the members. We're here to talk to them. We're here to, make their day better. That's kind of how I see what my job is I'm here to make the members' days better.
And I've been a peer for a really, really long time, and it shows my age. But peers are awesome. Peers are just inspiration. And we do so many things, and we're up for doing anything. If there's a need, we'll find a way to do it. If you need something done, just ask a peer. We bring hope to everybody we work with. We're a wonderful group of people, and I think a lot of that I train peers to be peer specialists, and I find that every group that I teach, they're special people. I mean, special stories, special ideas, and just so giving, of themselves. And peers are smart. They take what they've learned from and they help people with that. And peers are so valuable that, like here at Bridgehaven, the therapist and the peers have a close relationship. We may hear things from our members that the therapists don't know, and we can connect and help give them complete care, so that everybody's on the same page.
That's oftentimes very true, Susan. I think a lot of times as a peer, I hear things they members tell me things that they don't tell the therapist a lot of times. And I guess they feel safer to tell us. I don't know. I guess because we have that learned experience, and a lot of times we understand what they're going through. So it's a little easier to tell somebody when you can say, I've been there. It lets people open up a little more, I think.
This is Michelle. I think that is the beauty of peer support, Carrie, is that a therapist may not have walked in the same shoes, may not have those same experiences, and having peers who can give hope and give really solid strategies of this helped me, this did not, letting people know it's okay to not understand or to not know, and helping people to feel that there's somebody along with them on the journey. I think that's a really important piece. And in our department, we focus on services with people who are deaf, hard of hearing, or deaf blind. And as a hearing person, I don't know what it's like to walk in those shoes. So we actually had Susan do our first training during COVID with people who were deaf or hard of hearing. And our longest serving peer is Ron Morrow. We want you to go ahead and meet Ron. Ron, can you join us? Hi, Ron.
Can you see me?
Yes. Yes. Welcome.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure everybody can see me. All right. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be involved. My name is Ron Morrow. I myself am deaf. I'd like to share a brief story about my journey. Prior to coming in as a peer support specialist. At the time, I felt really lonely. Everyone in recovery, all the programs that I attended, everyone was hearing. And I wanted to be able to have a deaf sponsor, and I looked, but I could not find one.
No.
And then somehow Michelle was able to help me. I'd had some goals, and so did she. And so she got me in with Bridgehaven as a peer support specialist into their training program. But at the time, I wasn't ready. I was still out drinking. And I thought, why not? Why not join this program? And then once I did, oh my gosh, I was absolutely in love. I've learned so much. I mean, my goodness, the trainings were great material. And I'm really grateful to Michelle for helping get me plugged in with Bridgehaven. But after I took the training, I thought, I wanted to be involved as a peer support specialist because, being an alcoholic myself, there were a lot of different issues that I experienced along the way. And it wasn't an easy path. But once I got involved in an AA program, going to meetings, learning more there, learning how to turn my life around. And after that, I thought, I'll become a peer support specialist. That way I can help other folks. And now I feel like, now I've become a sponsor, so I can help other deaf folks who need help in recovery. Because, I've been there in that place of not knowing what to do. So I've become that safe place for them. That way they can work on themselves, they can work toward their goals and work on their own recovery and, change their lives for the better. I mean, just to provide you an example, providing other folks with examples, whether it be, how to get to a doctor, how to, do these daily life skills. Yeah, I think that's pretty much covering it.
So Ron, you've also led groups. We've called them the Deaf Sober Gatherings, but recovery is not only for people who've used drugs or alcohol, and recovery is not only for people who are kind of, from old terminology, sober. So we want to make sure that we expand our view of what recovery is and what's available for folks. And our partnership with Bridgehaven has really helped to focus on also needs of people who have mental illness, serious mental illness, and people who have other life challenges. And I'm really grateful for Brad Leedy and Stuart Bridgman for joining with us to do what we're calling a peer incubator project. So what we're trying to do is grow new peers so that you're not alone. For a long time, Ron was our only person providing peer support. So Brad, can you tell us a little bit about what Bridgehaven is in general? Because some folks may have no idea. And then Stuart, I'd love for you to tell us just a little bit about what you've been doing to make peer support services accessible for the new deaf peers.
Great. Well, I'm really happy to be here today, and I'm really excited to get started with the project. It feels like we've been doing a lot of prep work, and we're getting to that point. But Bridgehaven is a provider of psychosocial rehab services for folks that have severe and persistent mental illness. So these are individuals that may have major depression, schizophrenia, PTSD, any of those diagnoses that are interfering with someone's lives, that they can't live it to the fullest, or that it's something that is getting in the way of their recovery, or that they're trying to create a recovery plan. And we're thrilled to be able to bring on the deaf and hard of hearing services to meet that particular need in that community. But during the week, we provide group and individual therapy for those folks who have a severe and persistent mental illness. We also provide med management. We provide supported employment for when individuals want to enter or re-enter the workforce. And so it's an entire array of services that we provide to those individuals who need that support. And our therapists, our peer support specialists, our TR staff or therapeutic rehab staff help someone or help all of our members work through their recovery plans so they can get back to that point of where they're contributing members of society, and that they can work and live in their community, because we feel like that is where everyone is functioning at their best. And we also have some really great outcomes with those services, and love to be able to talk and share about them. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Stuart and let him talk about this project specifically.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to be here and for Bridgehaven to participate with you all on this journey. Often we hear about organizations or institutions being barriers to recovery. And so here at Bridgehaven, you know, one of my main focus is always trying to remove those barriers that are part of our society or institutionalized, so that we can facilitate recovery. And for Bridgehaven to be successful, we have to meet the needs of the people we serve. And so we need them to be telling us what they need for their recovery. And I trust them to know really what they need. And so it's fun to be a place where we can allow our members to share what they need, and we listen to them. And so often I'll say our group schedule is like water. It changes all the time. It's based on, you know, feedback. And we're looking at numbers and stuff like that, but we're also trying to meet that feedback.
Thanks.
I'm,
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just aware we only have an hour to talk about all the great things
Okay.
that are happening. So could
Yeah,
you tell
so
a
I
little
would
bit
just
about
want to
how
say,
you're focusing on deaf and hard of hearing services?
yeah, so just is saying that it's been exciting for us to say peers help us fix problems internally. So we're currently doing that right now, and I know that we're probably not moving as fast as we would like to be, but our goal is to bring the peers on as employees, provide them with the technology that they need, provide them with the supervision that they need, and provide them with access to our peers and our clinicians to help them understand the people that they will be serving, to make sure that they have the supervision that they need to be successful as they are working around the state. So this is kind of different for us, but also peers help us heal the system inside. So that's part of why we're excited about this program. So I've been getting technology together. I'm going to get it to you all soon. And so then probably the next part would be working with the peer supervision group and just meeting our peers and understanding that. And then maybe a couple of meetings with the intake team, because the people that you work with will need to be part of our intake team. And then the next part will be meeting with the clinician, because we still have regulations that we have to follow as far as, you know, everybody needs a treatment plan. And so the clinicians typically write those plans, but that doesn't mean that a peer is not an instrumental and part of that conversation and has her say. So we just want to make sure then when you start writing your notes that they're writing to a plan that you feel comfortable writing to.
So on our call today, we have people from the Commission on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. We also have people from vocational rehabilitation, one from University of Kentucky, College of Social Work. So I love what you said about healing the system from inside, and that we know that some of the barriers that happen with people who are deaf or hard of hearing is that communication access is not provided. And we know that there's probably never going to be a time when there's enough therapists or enough case managers or even enough peers to meet all of the needs. So in our incubator project, we also have opened it up to allow for people who are adjacent to the deaf community. Maybe their parents are deaf or hard of hearing, maybe their siblings are deaf or hard of hearing. And so one of our peers came to us through our recovery community center system. So we work with Bridgehaven, we work with services serving people with serious mental illness. We also work with services serving people in recovery from opioids or from other drugs. So Joey, do you mind popping on for a second and just saying who you are and why you wanted to be a peer?
Hey, okay, there we are.
There you are.
Hey,
Hey,
my
good to
name's
see.
Joey. I work down here. Hey, I'm down here in Paducah, Kentucky. Work for Four Rivers, and why I wanted to be a peer support. I mean, I the community I live in, we have a small deaf community. So, I mean, right now I'm, mostly, interacting with hearing people, but I mean, I want to get into this because I want to help break down, the communication barriers and provide support for those who need it. It is important to me. I mean, in so many aspects, for real, to help others feel. I mean, I want them to feel understood. I want them to feel heard. I want them to feel part of. I don't want them to feel alone. Um, Anything I can do that, I'm gonna do my best to try. So,
Joey, can you tell the story of how we first met you, the individual who was in need, and how you connected with them and got them comfortable going to treatment?
okay. My boss Brandon, somebody reached out to him about a consumer that was needing treatment from alcoholism, and I just so happened to be at the right place at the right time. I was down in, Turning Point speaking to my mom on video chat, and he seen I was doing sign language, and he asked if I'd be interested in, just coming with him, meeting the individual, you just kind of get to know him, explain to him what we do at Center Point, the treatment program I went through, and I was like, yeah, I'm all for that. I met the individual. Come to find out, he went to school with my mother at KSD. He was excited that somebody there would be able to communicate with him. He wasn't just going into a facility that everybody was hearing. People would have to write on paper. I mean, he was excited that he had somebody to talk to, and I thought, man, I was, excited too, for real. And he came, he came to Center Point. It was a little rocky at first, everybody was seeing a sign, so everybody's wanting to stare, all the stuff that comes with it. And but little by little, people actually wanted to get to know him as an individual and not just somebody to look at. So it was an awesome experience. I mean, he felt welcomed. Everybody there was amazing. And it was an unreal experience. Make him feel part of. He didn't feel alone. He he got connections. He got people he could speak to if he ever needed help and stuff like that. So I mean, it was an awesome experience, for real.
Thanks, Joey. I love what you said about, people sometimes look at, or the person might be really isolated. And I wonder, like, how growing up with a deaf parent affected your why. What made you, you said before you want to break down barriers, but how does that affect your why of specifically wanting to work with this position and this population?
Uh, it's a tough one. Growing, try not to cry.
Yours are okay.
Growing up with my mom.
You don't have to share if you don't want to. It's okay.
Yeah. It's just seeing her struggle so much. It was always just me and my mom. I didn't have no siblings around. My dad wasn't around, so it was me and mom. And
You probably had to step in as an interpreter and a support a lot.
yeah, it's crazy just how far the hearing world and the deaf world is. And we're all nobody should have to feel like it.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I'm so grateful for you and your heart and your tears and the fact that you yourself are going through all kinds of things and you don't want to just do that alone, but you want to pull people up with you and walk alongside. And I just thank you for that. And I'm real curious, in your class, we had two other folks who have joined us today. Maria, would you mind joining us now? Hey, Maria, welcome.
Everyone, I'm Maria.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, and why you wanted to be a peer support specialist?
Yeah, I'm Maria. My last name is Castle. And the reason that I wanted to become a peer support specialist is because I myself have experienced trauma in 2019. And since then, I've had some major struggles trying to find help, wanting to be able to, talk to somebody, but not being able to find access. And so then that led to developing PTSD. And that was really hard for me to cope, just to cope in my life. So I felt really isolated. I stayed at home and I thought maybe that would help me, but really, honestly, it made it worse. So I was finally able to find some help. Thank God I was able to change my life and turn it around. And I think I want to give back to the community. I want to give back that awareness and letting people know that it's okay to try to find help. And that doesn't mean that, you're weak or, maybe you're feeling scared and all that's okay. And it's okay to ask for help, that we're here to listen. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. I'm here to sit and listen. And to me, recovery means focusing on that self-care, and not allowing those obstacles to prevent you from living your life. That, we are going to struggle, but we can learn how to move through that struggle on our journey. Oh, and to add as well, I live in a small town. It's called Brooksville, Kentucky.
Thank you, Maria. And taking that pain and those experiences and helping to make sure that, hold on, I'm removing the pen. There you go. Making sure that people have access to what they need. Those are huge motivators, whether it's, Joey seeing that his mom didn't have what she needed, or generations later, people still struggle to get that access. Having peers who are deaf or hard of hearing themselves really can help break down those barriers and help people feel less alone.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that, I struggled with finding, myself as a person. Most of the folks that, were hearing or even trying to find somebody deaf and hard of hearing. And thinking if I did get a peer, like, if it's a hearing person, and most likely it would be, how would I communicate? I'm going to have to depend on lip reading, and that's never really a great option. So how would that all work?
So even in 2023, people have struggles with getting interpreters or even working through interpreters. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I want to make sure we also get to introduce Tessa first. So Tessa, would you mind joining real quick and introducing yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tessa. I live in Winchester, Kentucky. I've been in and out of therapy since I was 13 years old. So I have a lot of experiences with the psychology. I've been through a lot throughout my life. I know that I can provide a lot of insight about a lot of different things because I've been through so much. Recovery means to me surviving, and it's healing. Anything else?
Recovery is how you want to define it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I want to be a peer specialist because I can really help out with that. And hopefully I will make a difference in someone's life.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and ask Joey and Ron to turn their cameras back on. And then we're going to I'm going to ask a few questions, but if anyone in the audience has questions, please put them in the chat and we can go from there. Wow, we started with just me and an interpreter, and now we have 4 certified peer support specialists who are deaf, hard of hearing, sign fluent. I am so excited. I kind of have goosebumps at the moment to see everyone here and know that you all are helping to build a system that's more accepting and more welcoming and more accessible for everyone. So I want to start kind of on what Stuart was talking about in terms of healing the system from the inside. As a person in recovery, what are some of the systems barriers that you've faced because of having a hearing loss or a family member with a hearing loss?
For me, having a, and it's sad to say, because like with me being hearing, I don't have too many barriers as far as like receiving, recovery and receiving the help that I needed. I can only imagine like the people that do have, deaf or hard of hearing, the struggles they deal with. I mean, I can only try to understand, but I can't never truly know what they go through. But as far as me, that's what I got.
Thanks, Joey. You can share from your own experience. Would anyone else like to talk about their experiences trying to find an interpreter or trying to find a therapist, trying to find treatment?
I'm seeing a therapist. Sorry.
That's okay. Tessa and then Maria.
I'm seeing a therapist now, and she has no knowledge of deaf culture at all. So that's kind of hard. But I did have a therapist who knew sign language and knew about deaf culture, and that was just awesome. She retired in 2020. Go ahead. You get ready to say something?
Well, just a follow-up question. There might be people watching this who don't know that there's a deaf culture. What are you talking about? What's deaf culture?
Oh, wow.
Just a very surface answer to that.
It's a very, I don't know how to explain it. Anybody want to help me out how to explain that in depth? I mean,
from a basic standpoint, I think hearing people look at a person who's deaf or hard of hearing and sometimes look at the medical part and they kind of look at the ear. But for deaf culture, it's an appreciation of the whole person and it's an appreciation of American Sign Language and the culture and values that deaf people share with one another. And sometimes hearing providers don't even know that exists.
thank you.
Maria, what did you want to add?
Just from my experience for the first time when I went to I can't remember if they were hearing or hard of hearing, but they did actually know sign language. And so I went in to talk to them about some of the issues that I was having. But at that time, I didn't really feel like they really got me. I don't feel like they really listened to me. I felt like she was judging me. We were able to communicate, but I didn't feel like it was really helpful. But I did find a hearing therapist. And I don't feel that same judgment. I feel actually heard, and I feel like they've been really helpful to me. Then also said, if I talk too fast or you can't understand me, please let me know. And that's what we need.
So you need the therapists who are willing to work with you, ask what accommodations work for you, be willing to change if something's not working, and be willing to adapt themselves as well.
Yeah.
So it's in, oh, go ahead, Ron.
I thought what Maria said was perfect. That was fantastic, that comment. Just to give an example, as being a peer support specialist and talking to deaf folks, about their struggles and frustrations and trying to get access to programs or an AA meeting, what have you. But trying to help them to find a place to be able to, kind of solution to that, barrier. So that's been cool to be able to do as a peer support specialist.
Well, and Ron, you signed, like we've been signing peer a few different ways. So peer as somebody who's equal, and we sign peer this way too. Can anyone explain why we've been signing it this way? Oh, you're on mute if you're talking, Joey.
The only thing I think of it looks similar to like somebody going with you side by side through the journey.
Exactly. Because there is a little bit of a difference because you all are paid to be peer support specialists. So it's not completely even. There is a little bit of a difference, but you have a similarity and you can help people on their journey to support that. And it's not really about having all the answers, but it's about helping people find the answers to their questions and figuring out what works for them. One thing we talk about is the multiple pathways to recovery, that maybe what worked for Tessa isn't what works for the person she's supporting, but she's there in a non-judgmental way to help listen and help them figure out the answers for themselves. So I'm noticing that everyone on the call has different styles of communication too. Sometimes people are signing, sometimes they're speaking for themselves. I'd like you to each tell me a little bit about your preferred communication and who you would be comfortable working with in terms of people who are deaf and sign, people who use listening and spoken language, or maybe even people who are deafblind. Let's see. Maria, would you mind starting with that, telling us a little bit about your communication preferences and who you're comfortable working with?
Personally, I prefer signing. Most of the time I sign and speak at the same time simultaneously. But typically I'll ask the person first, like, hey, do you prefer signing or how do you prefer to communicate? And so I'll follow their lead. But for me, I mean, I sign all the time. I talk all the time. I mean, for me, it just kind of depends on what the consumer wants.
Who wants to answer next?
I obviously do both. Sometimes I sign and speak at the same time, but when there's so many people watching, I feel more comfortable talking and let somebody else interpret. I don't know why, but I prefer, I'm flexible. I can talk or sign, so.
So there's an interesting point too, Tessa, that the environment affects where you're comfortable. And so people should realize that, it's not one size fits all for communication, and it's not even one size fits all for the environment. So it's a constantly changing thing depending on who you're with and where you are.
Right. But if it's a smaller group, I will be more awkward.
You're being really brave today, being on a call, talking about really personal things. I know that's hard. And for all of you, it's hard to be peer support specialists where you're disclosing your own journeys of recovery and sharing those experiences in a world where it's not always kind. So I really appreciate that you're willing to share that life experience with other people. Ron, did you have something to add? Are you ready to answer about communication?
Oh shoot, I have completely lost it. Okay. I wanted to share, about this one hard of hearing lady. I'm her peer support. She doesn't know sign at all. She has very little. So most of the time I use lip reading and, talking with her verbally, and that seems to be comfortable. She's talked about wanting to learn sign language. And so I thought maybe that could be a way that I can help her, and get her inspired to learn. Maybe she'd be more willing to get out and meet some deaf folks so she won't feel so alone.
So one of our challenges is that people might come in for peer support and they have a wide range of communication needs. And it's not our job to try to force a person to speak or to sign or to use equipment. It's just our job to figure out where they are and then help them figure out where they want to go and how to get there. So I think that's a beautiful thing, that as peers, you're able to share in that communication piece too, because you probably face barriers trying to get interpreters and trying to get captioning or whatever other language access you needed. So I'm curious, why do you think it's important that we have peers who can sign directly? We love Alicia, she's a great interpreter. What's different about communicating directly with somebody versus through an interpreter?
I feel like it's more intimate, like it's more on a personal level. If I would have to speak to my mom through an interpreter at all times, I feel like there'd be a lot of feelings lost through it. Even though interpreters are amazing at what they do, it's not the same. That's for me.
Maria?
Well, I feel like, you know, it's, you know, even being one-on-one, it takes time to develop that rapport, to trust people. So when you add in that third person, you know, how am I going to develop trust with you if I'm having to go through this third party? You know, it's harder to build relationships directly with the person if you can't talk to them directly. I mean, that's my opinion.
Ron?
Like you brought up, I had, you know, one person, he was more anxious around other people. And he preferred to work one-on-one. That was his comfort level. So I felt like it was important to make sure that he felt comfortable and that we were doing what he wanted. And if, you know, and I'd ask, you know, do you want to go out somewhere, you know, out in public? And he was like, no, I'm not ready for that yet. A while to, you know, kind of develop that rapport and comfort, but he's been doing okay so far.
Thanks, Ron. Yeah, I'm thinking back, and you've done some really great work with people who were really isolated and hadn't reached out for help for a long time. And being able to connect directly and call somebody on their video phone and talk directly in sign language, that really could help a person feel hope and connection, and then be willing to get out a little bit more. And it's also so important to offer choice. So one thing we'll be growing with this group are opportunities for groups that are deaf specific or signing specific, as well as individual support. Some people may be more comfortable one-on-one. Some might prefer a group. We've partnered with Bridgehaven, so people can receive services through Bridgehaven and all the many wonderful things that they receive and that they support. We also partnered with recovery community centers across the state, so people can choose to go through an interpreter or they can choose to have direct communication. Many times a deaf or hard of hearing program has like one option, like you have to like this therapist or you have to do it this one way. And our vision is to build choices. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. Every day is a little bit better. And I'm super grateful. I know Brad and Stu, you all have to jump off for something else, but I'm so grateful for the work that you've done with us and are continuing to do with us to grow the peer support network. So thank you so much for joining today. Do you all have any other words of wisdom or thoughts that you'd like to add in after hearing some of this conversation?
I don't know about words of wisdom, but I'm definitely more excited than ever to get started and to just kind of see where this takes us. We've talked a lot about it internally, and we're excited to learn. We're excited to make some mistakes because that means we're learning when we just kind of delve in. But very anxious to get moving and to see what we can do with this.
Grace and humor, right? We have to have grace and humor with each other.
Yes, that's right.
Absolutely. We're just thankful for the opportunity too. And we are, you know, we are partners with you all, the peers here, and are willing to just support you all in your journey because we don't know where this is going, and we're just excited about just being on this journey with you all.
Thank you so much for that heart and that attitude. We have our next class of peers going through in October, and I am super excited because we actually have more applications than we have seats, and I didn't think that was going to be the case. So I see this growing over time and building a network of peers all across the state, and we could not do it without you, without Susan. So thank you all so much for your hard work with us. Susan, do you have thoughts?
First of all, I want you all to know that I am here for you no matter what. And I will figure out how to communicate with you and whatever you need. I am just an email away or whatever. You have got a support here with you. I guess what I wanted to leave you with was I came up with a saying a couple years ago that Kentucky peers rock. Now, Kentucky deaf peers rock.
Awesome. I'm curious if anybody from our audience has questions. You can either turn on your camera or you can put it in the chat. It's your chance to ask whatever you want about peer support. People might be asking about referrals. We're not quite ready for referrals yet for one-on-one. As soon as we are, we will let you know. We also have a recovery group that Ron leads. It's currently called Deaf Sober Socials, but we're going to be coming up with a different name that's more inclusive, and our peers will be helping to develop that name. Any questions from the audience? Oh, Blake is saying he has learned a lot. Thanks, Blake, and we really count on you to help advertise the program as well, because I know you get a lot of calls through the Commission on the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. You all are an important partner with us as well.
I just wanted to say to Tessa.
Oh, hold on just a second, Susan.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see her talking. No, just your comment about the commission and how we receive a lot of phone calls. That's true. We get a plethora of calls for folks looking for help, and it's hard to find. So with you all, I mean, gosh, I've learned a lot about those, making referrals appropriately. And I'm excited to learn about the program for these folks out here that are having a hard time finding help. Because yeah, we do get those phone calls, you're right. So I'm grateful for you all and the work that you do.
Thank you. Okay, Susan, now you're up.
I just wanted to tell Tessa, Joey, Maria, and Ron that you guys are wonderful. It was such a pleasure training with you all, and I'm so excited that you're going to be doing what you're doing. You're going to bring great things to everybody, and I just wanted to thank you for your participation in the classes, because I mean, you all were the best of the best. You guys shined, and you made teaching you so easy. And Ron, you were my firstie. You hold a special place in my
Very good to you. I'm a 3
years being a peer support specialist now. I'm so thrilled to have new folks joining us and building up our network. I'm excited to see it grow, and the way we can continue helping other people.
And whenever I do a peer training, I feel a sense of hope, for the future of peers. And you guys being in my training just makes me even more hopeful. That all persons, there's not just one person or one type of person that has a mental illness or substance use. It's a whole community. And with you guys on board, we're going to reach more and more people who need help. And it will just be special, and you guys will be awesome. And I have so much confidence in the 4 of you in doing good work. So thank you for making my job as a trainer easy. And thank you for the willingness to reach out and help other people, whereas a lot of people couldn't help them.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Tessa, you were saying thank you for teaching us. And we'll get better at the webinars. It's hard to pin everybody. Hold on. Now, Maria.
Yeah, I was just saying thank you for inspiring us.
All right, so we have about 10 minutes left, and I would like each of our new peers to just take a minute to talk about what your hopes are for the future with peer support, and if there are any words that you'd like to leave people with as they think ahead. We're celebrating Deaf Awareness Month. We're celebrating Recovery Month. And you all are great examples of both. So I would love to know kind of your final thoughts on what you think people need to know about recovery, about deaf culture, and about peer support.
It's a lot of questions.
It is a lot of questions. Just kind of how would you even want to summarize?
I'm not going first.
Maria looks ready.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would want to share with people who are watching today. You're not alone. You know, we've already gone through this and so many other things that we all have so many different experiences. You're not alone in your struggles, and we're here and we want to help any way that we possibly can.
Ron?
I guess I would say to our 3 new folks, welcome and thank you for joining. We're excited. And like I said earlier, I've been a peer support specialist for a bit over 3 years now. And I just wanted to remind you, you know, you are new, and I'm sure it is very overwhelming. There's so much. Yeah, not to worry, you can take your time. I felt the same way when I was in your shoes and I was new, and there were so many things to try to get the lay of the land of, but just take it one thing at a time and you will build up that resiliency and that strength, and just trust me on this. It'll be good.
One of the reasons why we partnered with Bridgehaven is because they are experts in growing peers, and we wanted to make sure that our new peers had support. And we learned from, poor Ron learned from a lot of my mistakes at the beginning of not giving enough support. So we want to make sure that you all feel connected. And we're getting questions about referrals. So next up for us, we are getting the computers out to our peers. We will eventually be able to offer peer support in person or by Zoom, depending on where a person is. And once our peers are completely onboarded with Bridgehaven, Stuart's going to have the fun job of helping figure out the referral process. I don't know if you wanted to add something there, Stuart.
Yeah, we're open to that. We know it's going to be just, like I said, helps us heal inside, helps us make sure we're methodical about these processes. You know, we've done it for a long time, but, you know, this is a little different because we're working with people remotely. And so just please be patient with us and we'll go as quickly as we can to get you all, you know, we just having people around all day, you get to ask questions for other peers, but being remote, we know that that is not always available. So we want to make sure that we have every opportunity for you all to connect with our peers. And because I know that a lot of the learning is they share with each other about what happened. So this is kind of a little bit new. So please reach out, ask questions, and don't be shy.
We are all definitely in a learning process, and we will continue to make mistakes, but we will be on this healing journey together, both as individuals and as a system. Joey, did you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. I think it's amazing that it goes, I mean, not only from all the way from Paducah to Louisville, but even farther than that. I'm just excited to see how it grows and what it turns into.
And Joey's already working at Turning Point, which is a recovery community center in Paducah.
Mhm.
And so if you have a referral for somebody for substance use treatment or substance use recovery services in Western Kentucky, Joey, could you drop your email in the chat, your work email?
Yes. I also work for it's Four Rivers Behavior Health. We also do the mental side of things, so I could help them, you know, get referred to what they need to refer to.
So our goal is definitely to have peers across the state. We know that some of the parts of the state are easier to serve than others. So as we grow, we're looking for diversity in life experiences, communication. We'd like racial diversity. We would like religious diversity, just all the different ways that we can help people connect. And Joey was our first hired peer, which was super exciting. All right, Tessa, you didn't want to go first. Now you have to go last. Any thoughts?
What was the questions again?
Any just final thoughts about the future?
I'm just really looking forward to in helping others. I'm fascinated with psychology itself, and I'm just really excited to take this journey. So, and continue to learn too. It's a never ending, and you're always learning in psychology. So,
I definitely learn something new every day, and you all teach me so much. So thank you all so much for your willingness to share your experiences and to go on this journey when we don't always have a map. So thank you for helping us figure it out as we go and being able to give hope to people in recovery and to celebrate deaf culture and the many ways there are of being deaf or hard of hearing or deafblind, so that people don't have to go through the same kinds of struggles that you all went through in terms of access. So I'm excited about what we're going to build together, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you.
Here.